Greetings. My name is Richard Osborn. I have the honor of serving as the president of the Charles Eliot Weniger Society for Excellence in welcoming you to our annual meeting, being held on a virtual basis for the first time compared to our usual meeting in the Loma Linda University Church. While we will miss meeting in person, with the tremendous cooperation of the Loma Linda University Church Media Department led by Stu Hardy, we are able to expand the reach of our program to the world through this media. I would also like to express appreciation to the executive committee of the Society, who have worked so hard to put this program together. Bernard Taylor, past president, Donna Carlson, Bonnie Dwyer, Bill Emerson, Larry Geraty, and Dan and Betsy Matthews, who will all be participating in this program. Why do we honor Charles Weniger, who died in 1964? In 1974, three of his friends, Congressman Jerry Pettis, Dr. Clinton Emerson, and Conference President John Osborn, established this society to honor his memory and the qualities of excellence that he represented through individuals today who have lived out those values. Since 1974, 186 individuals have been honored, and we add 4 more to the list today. The theme of our meeting is excellence, including the honorees and the 13 students who will receive recognition. We will also hear music as represented by the excellence of Anthony Leon, a recent graduate of La Sierra University who is now studying at the New England Conservatory of Music. You may want to know more about Dr. Weniger, and so when I finish offering the opening prayer, Dr. Eric Anderson, the former president of Southwestern Adventist University, interim president of Pacific Union College, and a longtime professor of history at Pacific Union College, where Weniger taught early in his career, will open a window into his life. Let us pray. Our Creator, we thank you for the excellence represented by Dr. Charles Weniger. And today we also thank you for the excellence represented by our 4 honorees, and especially by the 13 students who represent not only excellence in their current positions of leadership on their campuses, but as they take up the mantle of excellence in the future as their careers develop. We pray that you will honor this excellence through our meeting today as we try to carry out these values into the world and the people that are around us. In your name, amen.
Welcome to the annual Charles Weniger Awards meeting. I'm addressing you from Pacific Union College in the very temporary quarters of the Walter Rutt Center for Adventist History. Behind me you can see many of the collections that we have relating to Adventist history. Some of them are very significant, including some that relate to Charles Weniger. Well, who was Charles Weniger? When these awards began, everybody knew the answer. People who recognize the name HMS Richards, one of the early honorees, would also recognize the name Charles Weniger. Today we need to remind ourselves of who he was. He was an administrator. He served at Andrews University and at the seminary. He was a preacher and a writer. But I would say above all, he was a teacher. That's what people remembered Charles Weniger for. He taught at PUC immediately upon his graduation, and then a few years later he went to Washington Missionary College and then returned to PUC and finally was at the seminary where he both taught and led. The statements that his students make are quite striking. They search for superlatives to describe what was excellent about this teacher. Let me quote a few of them from a biography of Charles Weniger. One professor wrote, "Dr. Weniger is the finest classroom technician I've ever witnessed. For organization, clarity, interest, effective communication, his classes were brilliant." Another wrote, "I've had the privilege of attending 7 institutions of higher learning. Among all the teachers I've had in those institutions, Dr. Weniger stands out. Without exaggeration, I can state that he was the finest teacher I ever had." And he goes on to say he's that rarity, a teacher who both challenges and teaches. This excellence showed up in many ways. He was incredibly personal. He took seriously each individual student and found ways to inspire and motivate them. One of my favorite examples of Weniger's inspirational leadership and the impact it had on people is in a book by Arne Bontom. Arne Bontom is a graduate PUC who later was very significant in the Harlem Renaissance, a prolific writer. He sent his first novel in 1929 to Charles Weniger, and there's an amazing inscription in that novel. To Charles E. Weniger, because he suspected that I would learn how to write, because I hoped he was not wrong, because as a teacher, he was a friend to Arne Bontom. Couldn't ask for better than that. A teacher with a lifelong impact. In addition to being personal and personable, Charles Weniger focused not on mere innovation, but on preservation. He saw himself as living a tradition, passing a tradition on, and of course making important improvements in it. In the schools he taught, Charles Weniger again and again dealt with less than perfect circumstances. Pacific Union College, Washington Missionary College, the seminary, were not schools that conveyed or gave to people who graduated from them worldly prestige. I think in this respect of the famous statement that President Garfield made about his professor at Williams College. He said, in the end, I would rather have a small log hut with Mark Hopkins teaching me than a school with all of the best facilities and fanciest buildings. This became quoted, simplified as simply Garfield on one end of the log and Hopkins on the other end. Well, that's really the way Charles Weniger's students felt about him. They were aware that their schools were not rich schools. They were aware that the facilities were not perfect, but they knew they had a teacher that was outstanding and a teacher that matched the best that could be offered anywhere. So in that way, we are honoring Charles Weniger, keeping alive his memory by looking to other Adventists who have determined to carry out his tradition, that whole focus on I guess you could say the whole focus on putting service ahead of prestige. So today, let's remember Charles Weniger.
Hello, my name is Donna Carlson, and it is my honor this afternoon to introduce Loma University Emeritus Professor of Medicine and Public Health, Dr. Edwin Crick. Dr. Crick is a member of the School of Medicine class of 1961, a former overseas missionary, past president of the Loma University School of Medicine Alumni Association, and a former dean of the School of Public Health. In the brief bio in the program you should be able to see online, you can read some of the numbers that have punctuated Dr. Crick's life. A third-generation Adventist born in the Washington Adventist Sanitarium in Tacoma Park, Maryland, in 1935, Ed graduated from Adelphian Academy in 1953, from Atlantic Union College in 1957, and with high honors from the College of Medical Evangelists in 1961. Along the way, he was president of every one of his graduating classes. Following a one-year internship at the White Memorial Hospital, Ed spent 8 years in foreign mission service and a lifetime in teaching, caring for patients, and writing and lecturing in his field. But there's much you cannot read in a program or detect by analyzing numbers you might see there. There is, for instance, the disciplined character of an intellectually gifted man who, never having lived in Japan or visited there before being sent there by the General Conference, put in thousands of hours of study to become only the third American physician, all of whom were LLU graduates, to pass the medical board examinations in Japanese language and script. Sent first to our hospital in Tokyo, after 4 years there, Ed was posted to the port city of Kobe with instructions to establish another Adventist hospital. To this end, when he got to Kobe, he made an appointment to see the mayor. But for some reason, Ed thinks the Lord probably arranged it, the mayor was away when he arrived, and he was redirected to one of Kobe's several vice mayors. Shown into that gentleman's office, he found the room filled with cigarette smoke. But as soon as Ed explained his mission, this vice president got very excited and, through the smoke, declared that he was an Adventist himself. In fact, he had been brought up by SDA parents, and he was delighted to help Ed find and purchase, at a very good price, a fine piece of land for the hospital. The program also will not explain that it was not until after his return from Japan that Ed took his internal medicine residency, a 2-year fellowship in the new subspecialty of rheumatology, or that he had found a spot at Scripps in San Diego, where he occasionally had celebrities, Carol Burnett is one Ed remembers, as his patients. He returned to Loma Linda a few months after he graduated from his residency as a faculty member, and an appointment he held for over 40 years. The program will also not tell you that Ed Crick is one of those rare physicians who is quadruple board certified in internal medicine, allergy and immunology, rheumatology, and preventive medicine. Deeply convinced of the importance of Adventist lifestyle choices for the prevention and treatment of immunologic diseases like rheumatism, Ed has lectured on diet, exercise, and stress reduction at academic institutions all over the world. Nor will the program tell you about the energetic Ed Crick, who, as Alumni Association president, spearheaded the construction of the School of Medicine Alumni Association building, which now sits at the east end of the campus. It will not say how, perhaps benefiting from his experience in obtaining the hospital site in Kobe, he skillfully negotiated with university president Dr. Norskov Olsen for the purchase of the land, then faithfully raised the money for the building and followed the project through to completion in 1981. Your program will also not mention Ed Crick's modesty, his life of generosity and kindness, the softness of his voice, and gentleness of his hands as he examines a painful joint, as he did for my own arthritic thumb just last week. It will not tell you about the Ed Crick who, loved and respected by his colleagues in Japan, was invited to be the keynote speaker at the 25th anniversary of the founding of the Kobe Adventist Hospital. And when he got there, he gave his whole address in Japanese. It will not tell you that he was so successful at that occasion that he was invited again for the 40th anniversary, although this time he did use a translator. Finally, you cannot learn from the words of a program of the love Dr. Edwin Crick generated and received for over the years from colleagues, students, and patients in Japan, here on this campus, and at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, where he worked until April of last year. In sum, Dr. Edwin Crick is a person who, throughout his life, was equally committed to excellence in medical practice and scholarship, as well as to the Advent message of his church. He not only demonstrated the professional qualities of which our faith community is justly proud, and for which the Weniger Society of Excellence was founded, but who, as he moved through the wide world, changed it for the better.
It is truly an honor to be here today to receive the Charles E. Weniger Society Award. I was first inspired by his leadership when I was a teenager in Michigan, where my father, Russell Crick, was a pastor. He took several weeks off and was privileged to attend Elder Weniger's first-class presentations. My father had always admired Elder Weniger and was grateful to have the opportunity to glean knowledge from him, and as a result, my father was able to use the tools he had acquired in his ministry. I was blessed to be raised in a Christian Adventist home and so grateful for my Christian education. At the age of 10, I knew I wanted to be a missionary physician. My inspiration was my Uncle Roy Parsons, who spent 50 years in Angola. It has been my great privilege to spend almost 40 years helping patients and teaching at Loma University. Thank you for this great honor.
One of the most honored opportunities of my life is the privilege of introducing Dr. Edna Mae Loveless as a 2021 Weniger laureate. I feel so blessed to do this because Edna Mae has been a part of my life up close and more distantly for most of my life. Edna Mae and Bill were brilliant and gifted young leaders in the Seventh-day Adventist Church from my earliest memories. Upon graduation from seminary, my first assignment as a ministerial intern was in the Washington Conference, where Edna Mae's dad, L.R. Alexander, Alex, was my first treasurer, and her mother, May, was a second mother to my Betsy. And when we were married, Betsy wore Edna Mae's wedding dress. Mother May was wedding coordinator. Through the years, Edna Mae and Bill were always part of our lives in the North Pacific Union, the Columbia Union, and finally here in the Pacific Union. Bill was leading, prominent, preaching, Sligo, Loma Linda, and across the country. Yes, we knew Edna Mae was there, she just wasn't as public. The perfect pastor's wife, hostess par excellence, loved by everyone she generously accepted into her life. I interviewed Bill on a few occasions and once got him to admit that Edna Mae signed off on most all of his sermons and even consistently edited between services. Edna Mae, you continued on your own professional course. You got your education, ultimately your doctor's degree, and Bill and the girls were so proud of your accomplishments as a writer, editor, and university professor. So, Edna Mae, Dr. Loveless, it is with warm greetings and congratulations I present you as a highly deserving and qualified recipient of the Charles E. Weniger Award for Excellence. Your personal friend, Dr. Weniger, would thoroughly and highly endorse your receipt of the award today.
The other day, my girls asked, "What are they honoring you for at the Weniger ceremony?" I have no idea. Son-in-law Eric chirped in, "It's because for several years your daughters provided a reception for the event. You're being awarded because of your mothering skills." I suppose I am distinguished by being one of the few living among us who knew Dr. Weniger. 2 weeks after Bill and I married, we met Charles Weniger at the seminary in Washington, D.C. Bill came under Dr. Weniger's dynamic influence. Actually, I did too. We spent that honeymoon year working together on one of Dr. Weniger's class assignments. Then we spent the rest of our lives on that same task. The original project? Report back on an enriching experience. This was Dr. Weniger's signal. To convey the gospel, a pastor needs to stay in touch with his listener's environment. So we took in military band concerts. Eddie Fisher was a soloist. We visited Congress in session. At a Presbyterian church near the White House, we worshiped one Sunday across the aisle from Dwight and Mamie Eisenhower. And overlooking the Potomac River in Foggy Bottom, we heard Louis Armstrong in a free outdoor concert. We saw Basil Rathbone and Faye Emerson do an evening with Shakespeare at the National Theater. Bill marveled that the 2-hour production was performed without notes. He declared a sermon deserves that much attention. He vowed, no more notes or lecterns. They get in the way of communicating. Dr. Weniger made me aware of a teacher's impact. Teachers are responsible for every line on my CV. Recently at dinner with my family, we were naming notable teachers we've had. The undeniably innovative ones came up first. We also treasured those who went out of their way to help with difficult material. And some were memorable because they simply knew their stuff. When I think about my teachers, I begin with Ella Grosvenor. She modeled master storytelling at Oklahoma Junior Academy. When I was in grades 1 to 4, she had us spellbound in daily devotionals. She never ended a story with, "So you see, boys and girls." When she took us to the edge of the Red Sea with the Egyptian army in pursuit, we saw a powerful God in action. Mrs. Grosvenor's inspiration led me years later to speak up. It was a meeting for parents at Sligo Grade School. General Conference educators visiting the meeting announced plans to revise Bible textbooks. And I told them, I don't want my kids' introduction to the Bible cluttered up with crossword puzzles. The committee that waited on me the next day said, "Put up or shut up." So I quit my job at U.S. News and World Report and spent 10 positive years editing and writing Bible textbooks at the General Conference. In my teens, I met Elizabeth Cowdrick, my knowledgeable English teacher at Union College Academy. She showed up every Sunday morning to support our production of a weekly newspaper, 4 pages mimeographed, mind you. She let us collect news notes every Friday in her classroom and taught me everything it's important to know about English grammar and punctuation. She was in no sense a colorful teacher. How do you make semicolons exciting? But she bestowed on me a sense of competence when putting words on paper. I've been writing ever since. One of my students once remarked, "Your critique of my paper has more words than I wrote myself." At Walla Walla College, I met Dr. Tom Little, a former cub reporter on a major newspaper. He made journalism and editing exciting, inspiring me to overcome my shyness about approaching news sources. Sources are generally willing to tell their side of the story. At the University of Maryland, I described my ambition to get a master's degree to Dr. Roger Kelsey. He wasn't remarkable in the classroom, but he supported his students and challenged me to compete for an NDEA scholarship. With that scholarship, I skipped the master's and completed the PhD. I've only begun naming those who significantly mentored me. I have a very long list. I believe Dr. Weniger would be pleased that we're remembering those on whom God has bestowed the gift of teaching. And aren't we all shaped by our teachers' marching orders? I'm still obeying them, even at 92.
In 1972, Helen Cooper Pearson returned to Newbold College as a young bride, 1 year after marrying Michael Pearson. Each began teaching at the Adventist college, to which they would devote their lives and careers. Helen continues to serve as the coordinator of Newbold's popular Diversity Center lectures. Helen says the love of Newbold came to her through her mother's milk, because for Rona Howlett Cooper, a polio survivor and factory worker, Newbold had opened up a whole new world of literature, art, and religion. She and her husband, Victor Cooper, modeled a love of that institution and devotion to the work. From childhood, Ellen knew where she would go to college, and she did attend Newbold for her first year, but she was also curious about the bigger world, So off she went to University College Cardiff, where she earned a bachelor's degree in English and history. For her postgraduate certificate in education, she went to Cambridge. While Helen began her professional career as an English teacher, it blossomed into much more. Because of her way with words, she was asked to write about Newbold for the public press. That morphed into a public relations position, a job she held for 13 years. Along the way, she added graduate studies in journalism to her resume with a Master's of Philosophy degree from City University of London. She became a contributor and broadcaster on BBC4 radio. Always curious about the way words impacted life, in 1995, she began studies in psychodynamic counseling at Regent's College School of Psychotherapy, and in 1997 completed her diploma. That led to 15 years as coordinator of the Newbold Counseling Services. She turned her interest in helping women and men to integrate spiritual, intellectual, and emotional maturity into workshop presentations also. She became active on the speaker circuit. The experience of being a mother to 2 children and still wanting to continue with her career helped shape Helen into an Adventist feminist. An active church member, she served 3 terms as first elder of the Newbold College Church. Helen and her husband were artful bridge builders with the local community through the Newbold Diversity Center. They also made early, critically important connections with the Adventist LGBT kinship community through their ministry of presence and dialogue, according to then church pastor Gil Valentine. Helen's overflowing curiosity enlarged the world for herself and those around her. If curiosity is to excellence what rhythm is to music, Helen Pearson rocks the house. It is an honor to present to her the Charles E. Weniger Award for Excellence. She exemplifies how one gains one's life by giving it away, to family first, to the work, to the community. Hers has been a life of excellence.
Thank you, Weniger Committee, for this honor. Our progressive West Coast friends have for many years been the means of strengthening our belief that Seventh-day Adventism can offer so much richness to life in the modern world. Weniger's recent practice of recognizing individual spouses, such as Edna Mae and myself, makes it clear that once again, our West Coast friends have shown themselves perceptive about the lives of women in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. When a man and a woman share a call from God and love for each other, how are they both to follow their vocations so that each of them can thrive spiritually, emotionally, and professionally? If they have children, the question and the answer is more complex still. Many faithful young couples I have worked with continue to struggle with this question. Vocational guidance and support is in very short supply for all church employees. But the vast majority of church expectations are based on the patterns of male lives. When young women turn to our male-led church with its male God, where male knowledge and male experience of God are in so many places unquestioningly assumed to be normative, the average young woman with a vocation receives scant understanding as she seeks to work out her calling and life rhythms alongside that of her spouse. The reaction of young women to this situation varies, from fright to fight, and often eventually flight, not only from this church, but from its God. In the 1980s, after I had had 2 children and slowly recognized my options, I was very close to being one of those who took flight. I might have been, but I wasn't. And that is down to particular people with gracious gifts of imagination and spirituality, who see the ordination of women as just a symbol of the idea that the work of God needs to see women and men and so many other groups working together as equals. And so, as I receive my own award today, I would like to name and honor some of the people in those groups. First, my mother, who, while loving one man supremely, taught me by example and precept to love the brotherhood and company of godly men. Alongside my mother, I honor those of my church sisters, too many to name, but they know who they are, who have a passion for God and the work of God, and an unerring radar for men with a tendency to patronize or sideline or treat as less than fellow pilgrims their sisters old and young who seek to know God. Many of those young women walk tall but are wounded. I'd like to honor those male leaders who value feminine insights and have easily and naturally discussed God, God's Word, and God's church with me. Those who share ideas and plans, and maybe hardest of all, those who share pulpits, conferences, committee memberships, especially when they want them themselves. I want to honor those who understand that what so many of us, male and female, old and young, lack is not giftedness, but self-confidence, which sometimes needs a boost from authentic words of affirmation and insight. And finally, I want to honor those of my church brothers who have taken time out from climbing the greasy pole of church preferment to need, name, and nurture me. I'd like to name these of my brothers: Roy Graham, Jan Paulson, Ernest Martyr, Gil Valentine, Daniel Duda, Jean-Claude Verrecchia, and most of all, of course, Michael Pearson. If groups of men like this grow and thrive, there will be more Weniger Awards to husbands and wives. But more than that, the church we all love will thrive too. I pray it may be so.
50 years ago, in 1972, the year I began teaching at the Adventist Theological Seminary at Andrews, Michael Pearson began his lifelong teaching career at Newbold College in England. During those years, he taught ethics, spirituality, and men and women in transition, encouraging generations of students to engage with some of life's difficult questions and answer to the basic ethical question, what ought we to do? After team teaching a pastoral formation class with Gilbert Valentine, Gil said, quote, The class gave me the opportunity to experience and appreciate at first hand the rich depths of Mike's sensitive spirituality and the practicality of his compassionate humanity. His probing questions, breadth of reading, his honesty with doubt, dissatisfaction with superficial, canned answers, and his reaching for something more resonated strongly with his students and with his fellow teacher. In addition to his teaching, Mike Pearson also served Newbold at various times as head of the Department of Theological Studies, as director of the MA in Education and MA in Leadership programs, as vice principal with particular responsibility for staff, strategic planning, and learning resources. During the 2001-02 school year, he was acting principal. Along the way, in 1986, he earned a D.Phil from Oxford in ethics within Adventism. Later, his magnum opus was Millennial Dreams and Moral Dilemmas, Seventh-day Adventist Adventism and Contemporary Ethics, published by Cambridge in 1990 and reprinted in 2008. In addition to some 10 book chapters, many of them in books edited by scholars in attendance today, Mike authored more than a dozen seminal journal articles, along with countless lectures, addresses, and sermons. Many of us remember his moving presentation at the Adventist Society for Religious Studies a few years ago. And many of us keep up with Mike and Helen's blog called Pearson's Perspectives, where we never fail to be encouraged and inspired. Mike retired in 2013, allowing him to spend more time with family and to indulge his interests in writing, theater, cinema, art galleries, and black and white photography. Recently, he was appointed Principal Lecturer Emeritus at Newbold in recognition of the part that he played in the development of the college and its students. Another important recognition came in 2015 at the European Theology Teachers Convention with a presentation of a Festschrift in Mike's honor, Journeys to Wisdom, edited by Bachman, Jägli, and Berechia, representative of the many former Newbold students, staff, and colleagues whom Mike was close to and who have gone on to obtain doctorates and or to play important roles within and outside the church. In the introduction to his Festschrift, the editors stated, "We adamantly suggest Newbold College would not be the same, perhaps not even be at all, without his quiet, at times almost invisible, certainly gentle and yet persistent and very hard work of a lifetime for this institution." John Baldum, Newbold's current principal, says, "As a self-termed exponent of radical orthodoxy and as a critical friend of the church, Mike was always at his best when students and staff could be themselves with him." Gil Valentine, former Newbold academic dean, adds, "But it has been through the modeling of a behind-the-scenes kind of deeply informed Christian leadership and compassion that Mike has had the most enduring impact in the shaping of the values and skills of a generation of Adventist leaders." I must add a P.S. Having spent 2 Christmases in the Victor Cooper home in Watford when I was a student at Newbold in the 50s, I've obviously known Helen Cooper Pearson for most of her life, so I must recognize that her husband, Mike, would not have succeeded in life to the standard of excellence he has, and this is an award of excellence, without her criticism, love, and support. They continue to be an enviable couple. Congratulations, Mike. We look forward to your lecture.
I would like to add my own thanks to the Weniger Committee for formally recognizing my contribution to the work of the Seventh-day Adventist Church over a good many years. It is heartwarming to have your work noticed and honored. I am grateful to receive this award and be mentioned in the same sentence as Charles Eliot Weniger, who, as professor of English and dean of the seminary, was himself known for his excellent contribution to Adventist education. I am certain he would agree, nevertheless, that the greatest reward has come from the people, the students, and the colleagues who have walked beside us over these years. And thanks go too to Clinton Emerson, for whom this lecture is named, for keeping the legacy of Charles Weniger alive. Grateful and honoured though we are to be recognised, we would be foolish not to recognise also that there's something arbitrary about such awards. I can think of many of our Newbold colleagues over the years whose work has been a deeply valuable investment in the lives of generations of students. They were excellent in the classroom, in the personal support that they offered to students, and in the communities that they helped to nurture. We are deeply indebted to them. So too all those teachers and students throughout the Adventist schools and colleges in Europe with whom Helen and I have worked over many years. Many excellent in their own way. They may go uncelebrated today, but their efforts still help to sustain the church, nurture the poor, and leaven the whole in the public space. Excellence seems like such a simple thing, just being outstandingly good at something. But it is not so simple, especially in the Christian context. Our English word excellence comes from Latin roots, meaning to stand out in height or be a culmination. It seems that if one stands out from others, they must in turn form a mass of averageness for the sake of comparison. Jesus made clear his distaste for such human comparisons. In the Bible, excellent is usually a descriptor of God, not of human beings. The Greek philosopher Aristotle had much to say about excellence as a virtue. And so I want to walk for a moment in the company of both Aristotle and Jesus to eavesdrop on an exchange between them on this theme. A word then about excellence and comparison. When in 2012 Time magazine named Stanley Hauerwas as the best theologian in America, he responded by saying that best is not a theological category. It's true. There are surprisingly few uses of the word best in the Bible, and they mostly refer to things like wine, food, and land. So if excellent has a notion of bestness within it, then we as a Christian community should perhaps be rather wary about employing it. I've always been nervous and suspicious of references to a C student or to an A student. While the label may offer a useful shorthand, it is not without its dangers. All teachers have taught C students who put every effort into their academic achievements, who later make a very important contribution to the community, and who were simply wonderful human beings. And by the same token, we will have taught students, A students, whose work came easily to them and who could become complacent or even arrogant. In Christian education, excellence can never simply be about a superior position on a bell curve. It is also about endeavor, surmounting obstacles, being curious, and challenging your own best efforts rather than those of others. Jesus said that secular ways of measuring should not predominate among his followers. It should not be so amongst you. Whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave. Aristotle, by contrast, cared little for slaves and considered that only members of the Athenian elite were capable of excellence. Excellence and moderation. An important part of Aristotle's notion of virtue was moderation. For example, courage was a virtue in his judgment, but it was important to distinguish it from recklessness. There was no virtue in seeking martyrdom. His idea is in the same family as temperance, a Christian fruit of the Spirit. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 9 and Galatians 5 teaches us that we should be temperate in all things and that we should avoid jealousies, selfish ambitions, envies. We do our work as well as we can, but not at the expense of other human values, nor so that we can beat others into second place, but rather that we can serve others. We do not sacrifice everything just to be top dog. So excellence and moderation live slightly uncomfortably with each other. And on that, Jesus and Aristotle may well agree. Excellence and habit. Aristotle believed that excellence is not primarily about achievement, but about habit. Excellence is a habit. It is about working tirelessly on the formation of virtuous habits so that they become second nature. Thanks partly to the legacy of Ellen White's teaching, we as Adventists have placed strong emphasis on the formation of good habits in both home and school. This formation of good habits is, like sanctification, the work of a lifetime. Excellence is more a habit, less an achievement. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is the work of a lifetime. Excellence and freshness. The English poet and priest Gerard Manley Hopkins says in his poem, God's Grandeur, "The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things." But while the development of habits of thinking are important, good teaching depends also on freshness, on creativity. There is a willingness to revisit the old formulae, the tired conventions, and an eagerness to make new connections. It is a readiness to submit the sharply contoured certainties of morning to the nuances of afternoon light and the shadows of evening. I found that students came most eagerly to class when they did so with the expectation that something fresh was going to happen, that something might take them by surprise, that old things would be said but in new ways, and that maybe, just maybe, that the world would never look quite the same again. Freshness and habit can live together, but they live in tension. And the teachings of Jesus amply demonstrate this. You have heard it said, but I say unto you. Excellence lives in tension. Excellence involves living in tension. Excellence and blossoming. Aristotle's notion of virtue involved the idea of flourishing, of blossoming, of becoming fully vir, V-I-R, virtue, virile, a true man, or in our more open society, a true human being. Aristotle's idea of excellence as part of virtue is not a million miles away from a biblical notion of flourishing as found in Psalm 1 and verse 3. The blessed, the virtuous, are like trees planted by streams of water that yield their fruit in its season, and their leaf does not wither. In all that they do, they prosper. Jesus said that we find blessedness, we prosper, in unexpected places, in adversity, in the company of those very different from ourselves, in serving others. And in so doing, those others slowly return to us the gift of our true selves. What greater gift could we desire? What further excellence could be sought? Excellence and community. Aristotle says that virtue is to be found within a community. You cannot be virtuous alone. You cannot become excellent alone. But of course, Aristotle spoke from within a certain type of privileged community, an elite. Jesus is far more radical. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those that mourn. Blessed are the peacemakers, and so on. Blessedness is to be found in the company of those unlike you, the disadvantaged. And in losing yourself, you mysteriously find yourself. In serving, you find fulfillment. You blossom. You find your true self. You excel. You stand out from your previous self. Excellence, then, is to be found in community. It means being willing to subordinate your own interests to others. It means being subject to others on occasion without becoming a cipher. Aristotle saw it as one of the supreme virtues by which the virtuous person should live. He taught in ancient Athens, a society quite unlike ours. He was part of the ruling class. He would not expect the lower order to aspire so high. Nor could he have imagined that blessedness was to be found in the company of the outsider, the downtrodden, the leper, the impure. Jesus expanded our idea of community. No, rather, Jesus exploded our idea of community. Excellence and contentment. From a Christian perspective, there is still one piece of the picture missing. Our striving after excellence could become relentless and leave us restless and forever discontent. In the pursuit of excellence, there is room for satisfaction and contentment. We can pause and see that our work is very good. There is a moment when we can be still and rest satisfied with our efforts. And I think the true gift which the Weniger Committee has given us is the assurance that our work has shown some good quality, that our efforts have yielded some good fruit. And not only us, it is true of so many with whom we four have worked over so many years and in so many different places. Let us hear then, let us all hear that affirmation. Let us rest content with that affirmation for a while. And then we hear the voice of the Apostle Paul when he says to the believers in Corinth, I will show you a still more excellent way. Excellence always involves moving on. Now, we owe Aristotle a debt of gratitude for his profound insights into human nature and behavior and into the world in which we live, into everyday things. Our indebtedness to Aristotle is probably greater than any of us recognize. But the more excellent way announced in chapter 12 of the First Corinthian letter blossoms in chapter 13 into the invitation to the surrender to agape love. And with this, excellence moves on to a different plane altogether. It goes beyond the clanging cymbals and noisy gongs of achievement, even the achievement of all knowledge. In Christian education, the achievement of results without the accomplishments of love has a hollow ring to it. Gandhi said that people divide into two groups, travellers and settlers. Some Weniger recipients have been travellers. Helen and I have been settlers. But Gandhi added that if you choose to settle, you have to dig your wells deep. And for us, that has meant digging deep into the roots of a resourceful community here at Newbold and digging deep into the overwhelming love of God. Without these, we would have been quite exhausted of any resource. The call to excellence is still to be heard. Charles Eliot Weniger echoed it. Perhaps Jesus had something of this in mind when he talked about giving all to acquire the pearl of great price. Now, giving all is a risk in any field of human endeavour. It is a risk. It is a risk of trust. A risk of trust that we four have found worth taking. And we plan to continue, but can only continue in the company of people such as yourselves, who also have a deep thirst for the more excellent way. And so let us continue our journey together.
I am proud and honored to introduce Weniger Student Fellows who have been nominated by the 13 colleges and universities in Canada and the United States. They've been nominated by their administrators, their staffs, and fellow students as those who represent the values that Dr. Weniger stood for. They are not only leaders of the future, they are leaders of the present, having distinguished themselves and their schools by the way they have impacted with Dr. Weniger's call for spirituality, academics, civic service, and just being good contributors to life.
Hello, my name is Ismael Deron. I'm a nursing student here at Advent Health University, and I am in the middle of my second year here. I am a collegiate Sabbath School leader at Spring Meadows Adventist Church. I am also a part of an a cappella group called Ad Vocem, and we sing at several Seventh-day Adventist churches in the Orlando area. Before COVID, me and some members from Spring Meadows would go to a nursing home and sing and be with the elderly. Getting this award is such an honor for me because my actions are being recognized and appreciated. Also, getting this award reminds me that service and ministry are always a part of great inspiring people like Dr. Weniger.
Hi, my name is Daniel Suchkov-Cerna, and I'm a student at Andrews University. I'm a sophomore, and I'm studying music education. I love being involved on campus, and I'm currently involved with the choir and orchestra. And this last semester I was involved with campus ministries, and I hope to be involved again this coming semester. I am so honored to have received this scholarship. It is going to be a great help to me, and it is so affirming to see that the faculty feel that my involvement both on and off campus is creating a positive impact in the community, and I look forward to seeing how I can continue to be a positive force in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Hi there, my name is Maritas Emmons, and I am a second-year elementary education student minoring in physical education at Birmingham University. I was honored to be awarded the Weniger Fellows Student Scholarship. I want to say thank you to those who gave me this scholarship for their generosity and their contribution to helping students further their education. Thank you once again for your support.
My name is Caitlin Singh, and I am in my senior year in the Diagnostic Medical Sonography program at Kettering College. I am so grateful for the past 4 years I've spent at Kettering, where I've been guided by amazing professors and staff to thrive academically and spiritually as I pursue a career in healthcare and grow in my relationship with Christ. While at Kettering College, I have organized numerous student activities and fostered community as a resident assistant in the Kettering College's Residence Hall. I have helped lead the college's recruiting events, participated in volunteering opportunities, and in student life activities. I have also had the privilege of being the Children's Ministries Assistant at the Kettering Seventh-day Adventist Church, where I have enjoyed providing daycare, creating Sabbath School crafts, organizing family events, assisting in adventurers programs and Sabbath School classes. I am surprised and quite humbled to receive this recognition and to be chosen for this honor. I am privileged to join the ranks of the Weniger Fellows before me, and I accept the challenge to excellence this honor represents. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Glaucia Monteiro, and I'm a religious studies student at La Sierra University. I attended La Sierra University in 2017, where I participated in the United Singing Group, as well as chamber choir, and also I participated in the Magic Flute Opera Show. In 2018-2019, I volunteered as a student missionary in Major Marshall Islands, and in 2019-2020, I went to study abroad in France. I'm just incredibly grateful to have been given the opportunity to belong to this great community, and I am deeply humbled to have been nominated for the Undergraduate of the Year award. I have no words except thank you for everything that you have given me and everything that you have shown me, and thank you for being part of this incredible growth journey that I'm in, and I hope to continue in this journey in academic sense. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lori Faust. I'm a student at the School of Dentistry. I'm in my 4th year and will be graduating this May. During my time at the School of Dentistry, I've had the opportunity to get involved as a class officer as well as an officer with the American Student Dental Association. This past year, I had the opportunity to serve as the president of our chapter's American Student Dental Association. This year, our chapter focused on advocacy, wellness, community outreach, continuing education, and enriching relationships between our student colleagues and our faculty and staff. I feel so privileged to be considered for the Weniger Fellows Student Scholarship. Thank you for the acknowledgement and for the honor of being presented this award.
Hello. I want to begin by saying thank you for this opportunity. Since I was a child, I have had the passionate desire to pursue ministry and serve God as a pastor within the Adventist Church. The example provided to me by my parents, my father a minister, my mother a caretaker, has demonstrated to me the value of service, of glorifying God through service towards others. My life experience has been filled with numerous stories of serving others with the love of God. I came to Oakwood to pursue a broader worldview and to better understand how I can serve God in the diverse community of faith. On campus, I have served as a resident assistant for the freshman male dorm, a teaching assistant in the religion department, and a team member on numerous campus ministries, and I am highly involved at every level of my local congregation, serving as a Sabbath School teacher, a Pathfinder leader, a worship singer, and any other possible form of service. I continue to follow God as He leads me throughout life, serving others in unique ways and unexpected locations. God willing, I pray for the opportunity to serve abroad in the mission field. I plan on continuing my education by entering in the seminary and eventually continuing all the way to the doctoral level. My life goal is to truly bring the gospel to all people, no matter the circumstances.
Hello and good evening. My name is Jesse Zachawaris. I am a junior theology major here at Pacific Union College. One of the things that me and a couple buddies of mine started in our freshman year was a prayer group. And this prayer group originally consisted of about 7 of us. You know, we would just meet together in a certain location and we would just pray over one another. Now, it grew to about a total of 40 people. And what we would usually do is that after Vespers here at PUC, we would meet at a designated location and we'd discuss where it could possibly be. And we would say prayer requests and we would pray over one another. But because of COVID, we created a group chat, and if anyone has a prayer request or a praise, we pray over them, and they could mention it in our little group chat. I just want to say thank you so much for this scholarship, because for me, I'm a DACA student, so my parents also do not have papers, so I couldn't qualify for Cal Grant or FAFSA, so my family and I are paying pretty much close to the full price every month for PUC, and this scholarship is really going to help us a lot, and I really thank you guys so much for it.
Hi everyone, my name is Jocelyn Lache Veloz. I'm a student at Southern Adventist University. I'm in my senior year, majoring in theology. My job on campus is student dean, and I am so thankful in this moment for this scholarship you guys have given me. Thank you so much for this award. It's funny because this last month, it was my birthday, and right after my birthday, I received an email letting me know that you guys had given me this award of $1,500, and I cannot thank you guys enough for being such a blessing to me, to my finances. Thank you so much for having in your interests, showing me this type of love and helping me out so much my last semester here at school. Thank you so much. I'm gonna keep all of you in my prayers, and I only hope that God keeps blessing all of you, so you guys cannot just help me, but keep helping other students who might need your help financially. Thank you so much. May God bless all of you. Cannot wait to meet you one day. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Leif Lastine and I'm a junior theology student here at Union College. Being selected for the Weniger Fellows Student Scholarship both humbles me and thrills me. How I arrived at Union College was fully by God's grace and His providential leading. Being selected for the Weniger Fellows Student Scholarship tells me that God is in control of my education and that He will continue to provide for every need. I never got good grades in school. They were never high enough to merit any kind of scholarship. So when I heard that I had been chosen for this award, my only thought was how far God has brought me. And I am also prompted to continue to strive for excellence in everything that I do. I love being a student. And so living on campus helps me get the immersive experience of learning and being a student. You often might find me swimming in the Lifestyle Center, or serving in the cafeteria, or especially getting lost in the library for many hours. But my favorite thing to do, and what I believe is my purpose here at Union College, is to bring a relentlessly positive energy to others everywhere on and off campus. I want to say a special thank you to the donors and to all those who made this possible. Thank you very much.
My name is Isaac Guerrera. I'm a sophomore at Wallowa University, currently studying business finance. For the past couple of years, I have been working in student financial services, which has given me lots of great experience and has helped me to help fellow students in need. Apart from that, I have also been able to become closer with faculty and have been able to gain experience in a field that relates to my major. I see many examples of students who struggle financially, and to receive this award has relieved me of some financial burden, which also allows me to go out and enjoy my college years as well as not have to stress about the finances that come with it. I am very thankful for the people who have made this scholarship possible and will forever be indebted to them, and hopefully am able to one day provide that for other students. Thank you.
King Solomon of old observed that it is a good name that is rather to be chosen than great riches. And today, as we express gratitude with respect to the Charles E. Weniger Scholarship here at Washington Adventist University, we are so grateful for his good name, which has been able to be honored by his friends in legacy ways, which include this annual scholarship to students who have been recommended by their respective universities. And as we say thank you today, I'm so pleased that we have one of our recipients, Takutwa Maduve, who received the recognition about last year. Yes. And so Takutwa, as we say thank you, what did it mean to you to be a recipient? How did it make you feel that we want to make sure that we share in our expressions of gratitude today?
Well, for me, the award was a surprise. I did not expect to receive it at all. And I was very emotional when I heard that I received it. I was with Ms. Kasunzu.
That's me?
Yes.
Takutwa is one of our nursing majors.
Yes. I was sitting with her and I was just speechless because it was a really great honor. And I'm very appreciative of being able to be a recipient of this award. It goes further, it goes further to, I appreciate people that have supported me in my journey, and that keep supporting me, from my parents, my aunts, the professors, Dr. Kasunzu, everyone, and being at this wonderful university that has given me a great opportunity to succeed.
I remember that moment, and I remember it being an empowering moment because you said someone believes in me, and you needed that encouragement at that point in time. And it's for that reason that Takutwa joins me today and many other recipients to say thank you. Joining Takutwa is this year's recipient. Thank you so much. He is the president of our student association. His name is Felipe Sione. Yes. Felipe is also one of our majors in theology and religion. And Felipe, we talked about how empowering being a recipient was for Takutwa. For you now, if Professor Weniger were here, how would you say thank you to him for being such a role model of professionalism and excellence in teaching and learning?
So I think it's really important to talk about leaders, because this is something that takes leadership. It takes making a change on society. And leaders are more than just leaders. Leaders are students, leaders are professors, they are sons, mothers, fathers, and being a leader is what will lead for the future. And right now, our future is being attacked by something called COVID. And it's really important to have motivation when you're a leader. And the scholarship for me, at least, it was something that brought my energy up. This year was hard, not just for me, for a lot of other students. And seeing that someone believed in me and saw that I was making a difference on each day, even if I would feel like I didn't want to smile or go in a place and get something done, I would go because that's what it takes to be a leader. And I think this award made my year, and we'll make the year of so many other people.
Thank you so much, Felipe. And to Kutwa, the psalmist observed that the fragrance of the righteous is a blessing. We are so grateful for the fragrance of Professor Charles E. Weniger. And for that reason, we say thank you here from Washington Adventist University. I am Cheryl Harris-Kisunsu, Provost at Washington Adventist University, and we thank you for continuing to be that gift that keeps on giving, that empowers lives in a transformative way, not for the years of time alone, but for eternity. We appreciate you.
Charles Eliot Weniger was admired and revered by his many students from Pacific Union College, Columbia Union College, and the seminary at Andrews University. Dr. Weniger encouraged his students to explore literature, drama, and music for enriching their lives. And above all, he instilled in them to achieve excellence in everything they did. He will always be remembered for his modeling of excellence and kindness. We have just witnessed the remarkable class of Weniger Scholars for 2021, a group of dedicated and hardworking students that exemplify the teaching of Charles Weniger. These young people will be the leaders of the church, our educational systems, and civic service. To preserve that wonderful teaching of Charles Weniger, the Society established a student scholarship program 5 years ago for Adventist colleges and universities in North America. To date, the Society has provided 60 scholarships totaling over $30,000. These are deserving students that exemplify the philosophy of excellence in their academic pursuits. Your previous generosity to the Worthy Scholarship Program has made it possible for the Society to assist students in our institutions of higher learning. Today, we ask once again that you give generously. Our goal is to increase the number of scholarships and the amount of the awards. Please send your donations to the Charles E. Weniger Society, 25612 Barton Road, number 205, Loma Linda, California, 92354. Your entire gift will be used for the scholarship fund. We thank you for your continued financial assistance to the Society.
into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory
Each year at this time in the program, we pause to remember any honorees that have passed away in the last year. And this year we remember Elder Lou Venden, who was honored in 1999. Lou served the church faithfully throughout his long career. Many will remember him from their college campus days as he served as senior pastor on a series of campuses, including here at the Loma University Church. But he also served as a missionary in Japan, and in retirement taught at the Loma University School of Religion. Join me in a word of benediction. Dear God, giver of all good and perfect gifts, we pause a little longer in your presence to give thanks for Dr. Weniger and the exemplary life of kindness and devotion and dedication he lived in your honor. Those who knew him best created this society to preserve his memory for future generations, and in particular, to encourage within Adventism an ongoing pursuit of excellence to your glory, such as we see in the lives of these honorees today. We also thank you that in these difficult times, Adventist young people are stepping up and choosing to live a life of excellence despite the circumstances. They represent the hope of Adventism in the 21st century. Lord, our eyes are upon you. Grant us your peace that passes understanding. Amen.